Should have my 8-year-old that she made a movie trailer, like on the iPad.
I was gonna say.
It looks like a professional movie, just like.
Good? Okay. All right, good evening. Oh, wait, all right, good evening. We're gonna call the Lake Elmo Planning Commission to order for May 13th. If we can all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, if I can entertain a motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
Motion to approve the agenda of Monday, May 13th, 2024.
I'll second.
All right, first by Commissioner Vreese, seconded by Commissioner Rainkamp. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of April 22nd, 2024?
Motion to approve the minutes of April 22nd, 2024.
I'll second.
First by Commissioner Vreese, seconded by Commissioner Bowling. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. First item for tonight is the public hearing for the Bridgewater Village zoning text amendment.
Good evening, Chair, members of the Commission. I have a very brief presentation for you on this item. Somewhat straightforward here, request from Bridgewater Bank. They are requesting to change the zoning ordinance as it relates to the parking requirements for a financial institution, bank. This is in association with the requested Bridgewater Village development that the Planning Commission reviewed at the beginning, or the end rather, of last year. So again, just to remind you, this is an applicant-initiated text amendment. What we are reviewing this evening is a request to change the rules, and I'll get into some of the details here. So this was prompted again by a proposal for the Bridgewater Bank. The bank is proposed to be 6,000 square feet in gross floor area. The last amendment, as far as we can tell, to the parking standards for banks does not appear to have been in the last 5 or 10 years. There have been some adjustments to that section 105.12.410, the table for parking standards, but it does not seem that the city's really reviewed these parking standards in great detail recently. So to talk a little bit about what this is and what this means, I wanted to talk about how financial institutions are defined. This means a provision of a financial or banking services to consumers or clients. Walk-in and drive-in services are generally provided on site. Typical uses include banks, savings and loan associations, savings banks, credit unions, lending establishments, and drive-up ATMs. So that's what a financial institution means when you see that use within the city code. So, and I'm using the word bank and financial institution interchangeably. So, in terms of the zoning map, I wanted to talk quickly also about where this particular use is located within the city. It is in 8 of your zoning districts, which allow commercial uses. It's one of those uses that you see nearly anywhere that there is going to be some type of commercial use. And so in Lake Elmo, this is concentrated in the developing areas within the city's MUSA boundary. These are in the village area, and areas within the village planning area that allow for commercial, and then also along 94 in the south growth area. So pretty much anywhere that you see commercial being allowed, financial institutions are typically one of those uses. So cutting right to the request here, the current city code standard is 1 space per 100 square feet of usable floor area. The request is to increase that to 200 square feet. So we did ask the applicant, Bridgewater Bank, to help us out a little bit with the research here, to provide us a little bit of information about their own bank facilities, and they were able to provide some information on several bank facilities that are in areas across the metro. So we have an example provided in Shorewood, Orono, and Minneapolis. Generally speaking, these bank properties are providing at least 1 space per 200 square feet or more. I also took a look at the employment information just to try and get an understanding of, with banks, how many employees do we expect to have? It averaged out to, at least with these examples, being somewhere in the neighborhood of 13 to 14 employees based on the example bank we have in Bridgewater Village, which is 6,000 square feet. So we did have an example proposed, again here with this bank, and looking at that, we would expect fewer than 15 employees, and with the code standard applied that they're requesting, we would go from 60 stalls as currently required to 30. So looking at the request, we also wanted to understand how some of our neighboring communities regulate this particular use. Some of them reference financial institutions or banks directly. Others use terms that are a little bit more general, such as office or retail. We would assume that they would apply those standards to banks or at least be similar. And so in a lot of the area communities, we're seeing a minimum 200 square foot per one stall of parking or more. So talk a little bit about the impacts of a request like this one. Of course, there is a reduction in cost for applicants and property owners because they would have to build less parking. There is less maintenance in the long term and the upfront expense of parking lot. There are also benefits to the environment, as we know, when we reduce hardscapes and particularly parking areas. We have to store less stormwater, which is a significant environmental impact from paved areas. We reduce the urban heat island effect, and we also have less salt application in winter. There's increasing research and concern about the application of salt on our drive surfaces and the ramifications that has on our waterways. So staff looked at the request, and we have changed the proposed language a little bit in terms of what we're proposing to you and the city council. We're proposing to change the word usable to gross floor area. The reason for this is because it's a little bit, it's number one, more consistent with the rest of the parking standards in the ordinance, so we would be applying this consistent with the rest of those, and it's more objective. Usable floor area can be a little bit subjective, what's usable, what's not. So as far as we understand the proposal, this will still allow the Bridgewater Bank project to move forward with their proposed number of parking stalls on their site plan, but it will also just mean a better requirement in the future for future banks or existing banks that are looking to expand or change their site. So I have some findings proposed to you in the staff report that are on the slide here. We can talk about them if you'd like to, but I'd also note that we have a public hearing that was posted for today. We have not received any comments or questions from the public. And with that, that brings me to the recommendation, which is to move this on to the city council. I would note to you that the applicant is here this evening and happy to talk about their project or answer questions you have. So that's all I have for you.
Mr. First, I was going to ask you, do we define usable in the code anywhere? I mean, you did touch on the fact that's why we're moving to gross rather than usable, because it's a mechanical room or back a house or something like that.
I don't think it's actually explicitly defined in the ordinance as far as I could see. And if in looking at table 5.2, which has the other parking requirements in it, you don't really see that term used for many of the other uses. Offices and retail are similar in nature to banks or financial institutions, and to have different language felt a little out of order. So making sure that we have kind of consistent requirements across the board helps, honestly, staff when site plans come in to be consistent.
Okay. Thank you.
So how does it change I mean, obviously, we're gonna reduce the parking lot, and then how does that change the overall dynamics of that
Sure.
development? And what's that look like? And are there other properties or business types that we're looking to reduce as well?
So right now with this, that's a great question. So this is a really narrow request.
Yep.
It's specifically for financial institutions. Staff have not broadened the scope of this at all to include other uses.
Okay.
At some point, if you're suggesting that maybe staff should review all of the uses more in terms of the parking requirements, that definitely is a conversation that the planning commission and staff can have. But for this particular request, this will go forward with the Bridgewater Village final plat. And so if the city can approve the request to reduce the bank parking requirement, the bank will be able to move forward once the final plat is approved.
Sure.
So this would be if a larger bank wanted to come in, this would be the minimum amount that would currently be done for a financial institution, correct?
Yep, so that's a great question. So again, with zoning text amendments, this is gonna be the standard for all banks. Anything that's defined as a financial institution will have this parking requirement. That being said, when staff reviewed the request, we found it to be pretty reasonable. Number one, considering the fact that it is pretty consistent with area communities and most of the other communities allowing the same ratio. And I would also just mention changes in how banks do business, and especially in the last 5-10 years. Technology has gone gangbusters, and ATMs of all different shapes and sizes exist now to help people with things digitally, so.
Thank you. Any other questions from commissioners? Okay. Thank you. If the applicant would like to come forward, if you can state your name and,
I'm Jerry Bach, CEO of Bridgewater Bank and Bridgewater Bank Shares. I have Jeff Reedy with me, our principal of MDG Architects. We're excited to be here today. Obviously, we're excited to be potentially opening a business in town here. And if you, and Jeff can also speak to this, but all of our branches in suburban areas have, I'm not gonna say limited parking, but parking just like we're representing here, but a lot of green space. Less parking, less tar, more open space, grass, flowers, bushes, shrubs, and it's an overall appeal that we like.
thank you.
What's your ideal number of parking spaces? If you were gonna build it and didn't have any restrictions, how many would you put in?
Same 30,
Okay,
35, whatever
there's your
it is.
opportunity to tell me, I think 10 is all we really need, but.
No, I don't, there's surge, I mean, you have something like after hours events or something like that, I mean, you need some parking.
Right.
So, and I think it works overall with the overall design, I don't think we'd wanna get by with 20.
All right. Good.
Any other further questions for anyone? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, this is a public hearing, so if I can get a motion to open the public hearing at 7:12.
Motion to open the public hearing for the Bridgewater Village zoning text amendment.
All second?
First by Commissioner Reese, second by Commissioner Rainkamp. We'll open the public hearing at 7:12. Did we receive nothing? Okay. Is there anyone here? Right, we will close the public hearing at, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I move to close the public hearing.
All right.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Bowling, second by Commissioner Reese. Public hearing is closed at 7:13. If I can get, there is a motion on the table. If I can get someone to,
I move to recommend approval of the zoning text amendments requested by Bridgewater Bank as proposed by city staff.
Second.
first by Commissioner Bowling, second by Commissioner Reese. Any comments? Commissioner Bowling?
I understand that things have definitely changed, and you don't need the parking like we used to. And I don't mean to compare, I'm sorry to do this, but one of the things I love about Lake Elmo is Lake Elmo Bank and all that green space. Because I walk there all the time and it's like, I love it. So the fact that you're getting rid of cement and putting in green, love it.
As for me, I appreciate the work by both the applicant showing us, what their parking spaces are at some of their other branches, and by staff, comparing to similar municipal ordinances. 200 seems appropriate, looking at some of our neighboring cities, so I'm all for it.
I'm for it as well. I think it's kind of hard to be against this when you want less parking, so I am for it. Any other comments, questions? All right, all of those in favor of the motion, motion, if you can signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries 5-0. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll just give them a few seconds and then we can move on to new and unfinished business, which there is nothing. All right, new and unfinished business, we don't have anything. For item 6, city communications updates.
Communication updates. At the May 7th City Council meeting, there was a handful of planning items on the agenda. The Public Facilities Zoning District Text Amendment, the City Council did approve that with an amendment to keep the parcel maximum at 20 acres. Kramer Lake, the application was withdrawn, so that did not go forward to City Council. Berthen Haven Comprehensive Plan Amendment, the council denied the zoning text amendment and approved the comprehensive plan amendment, so that is now going to be submitted to Met Council for their review. And then the Chavez property, which is the zoning map amendment and comprehensive plan amendment, the City Council approved both of those, and again, that will now need to go to Met Council. And then upcoming meetings, May 28th, that one will likely be canceled. The notice will be posted next week, and then June 10th, we do have a couple items.
Okay. Any other issues, items for concern? All right, then we will close the meeting at 7:16 PM.
See done, Brian.